Hello everyone. Very happy Chuntul Dawa. This is the month of miracles. Only a few days ago we celebrated the full moon, which is the main day that marks the day of miracles. So thank you once again, Sakya Friends, and all the wonderful volunteer translators. Tonight I'm going to give a teachings on how to practice loving kindness. People are learning to do meditation, take up vows, receive empowerments, and travel very far on pilgrimages, attend many teachings. All of this is for one and only purpose: to develop loving kindness. Without loving kindness, there is no achievement of enlightenment. Even if one has some meditation, the meditation is so that your mind is develop one-pointed attention to have the ability to pay great attention to the well-being of others. Tonight, this teaching is a very crucial teachings. If you don't have loving kindness, no matter what you do, all of them become futile. If one gets to develop loving kindness, then your meditation would have served purpose. Even in the meditation you are distracted or dull or forgetful, or you don't really have any fantastic experience in meditation. But if it has enabled you to become very thoughtful to practice loving kindness in all situations, with everyone, in whatever difficulties they are, always use the loving kindness as a remedy, then even the meditation on calm abiding, even the meditation of special insight, even the deity yoga, even the recitation of the mantra, spending many years in retreat, all is for one and only purpose: to set our mind free of ill will and replace that with goodwill, loving kindness, metta bhavana. Metta bhavana is a very powerful meditation, because if you have all our sufferings are due to lack of loving kindness. So if you develop loving kindness, whether it's a stranger, whether it's someone very close to you, but nevertheless you are somewhat facing difficulties with them, or those people who we may regard as arch rival or real enemies, and to all of these people and your own mind, the loving kindness is the panacea. So even meditation is taught for the sake of developing loving kindness. Even discipline, even developing wisdom in the right view, is so that you will learn to practice loving kindness. And that's why there is a conversation between Maitreya and Manjushri. And the question is asked, what is the one and only practice the Bodhisattva should train? And that is loving kindness. Why? Because if you practice loving kindness to one sentient being, then it pleases all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that even the whole world that you offer with so many abundant, generous offerings, if you were to fill the whole world with many luxurious items and articles, gold, silver, you offer to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, even that merit will not match generating genuine loving kindness to a sentient being. That's why the practicing loving kindness is becoming Maitreya. You don't have to wait for the future Maitreya Buddha. Maitreya means loving kindness. So, therefore, I'm going to discuss this tonight, this teaching. This teaching is pointing. Usually, people are always looking for profound, fast, quick, whispered, secret, highest, with highest lamas, the most profound Anuttara Yoga, all that kind of things. But one thing that actually excels all practice is loving kindness. How? We will understand. Definition of loving kindness. Loving kindness itself is a noble truth of the path. Because when you follow the noble truth of path, then you stop the truth of suffering and the truth of origin. You don't have the truth of path unless you practice to remedy the truth of suffering. So our suffering, the antithesis of loving kindness, is ill will, is resentment, is bitterness, and becoming mean and angry over some issues with your mother or with your friend or with somebody else. Of course, we never have ill will to strangers. Our objects of ill will are very within our inner circles with whom we have a fallout because we were loving also some kind of attachment between oneself and others, and then these get hijacked by ill will. So ill will is the true origin of suffering. One who has ill will, resentment, anger, bitterness, and malice, and all of these are just thronging in our hearts. And one person who has these things is in suffering. He is suffering. Even though he's physically, no medical check proves that he is sick, but he is actually miserable, because miserableness is truth of suffering. His suffering has the origin in the ill will, in the resentment, in the anger and the bitterness. So therefore, loving kindness is the remedy, the truth of the path. See, the truth of the path is the medicine. As a medicine is usually the remedy for the illness, isn't it? So, but this is not a pill you swallow and go to doctor and give you 3 pills in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, and 1 in the evening. Loving kindness is not a pill. Loving kindness is a mental constitution called holistic and intelligent emotion. When you are intelligent enough, when you are very articulate, and that when you are very, very conversant, and when you can read your mind, you have this intellectual literacy that you can read your own mind and emotions. And so if you are giving rise to ill will, you see that that is the true origin of your suffering. So your physical illness, tiredness, and stress, and short-temperedness, irritability, and doubting, anxiety, all this is because you lack loving kindness, and you are developing some kind of unintentional ill will, either to someone or something, or generally, or some people even to themselves. They just don't like themselves. So ill will is the true origin of suffering, and the suffering that you have is the day-to-day sleeplessness, tiredness, stress, scatteredness. All of these things are the suffering. So, loving kindness is the truth of the path. It is the remedy. It is the actual medicine. So, whether you do calm abiding, whether you do mantra recitation, whether you do ngondro, whether you do sadhana, or whether you do years of study of Dharma, or whatever you do, these are all aimed to develop the medicine of the mind, like loving kindness, so that you do not do ill will or resentment and anger, and you meditate to see the faults and demerits of your ill will. And then you try to almost forget the ill will and not do the ill will. And then you deliberately practice loving kindness. First you practice loving kindness to yourself. You don't practice loving kindness to others when you yourself is absence of. If you're feeling very angry and ill will and don't like yourself, that's the first thing we need to fix. So therefore, loving kindness should be practiced with the first person, that's yourself. Because traditional teaching says you practice loving kindness to your mother or someone who's the very nearest and dearest. But remember, if you really ask your question, the most important person is the first person. We blatantly don't want to deny that. Let us admit that most important person is oneself. Because if you don't look after yourself, you can't look after your mom. You can't show loving kindness to your mother if you are not able to practice loving kindness to yourself. So we need to, first of all, starting to become friend to yourself. Word metta or maitri in Sanskrit. Metta means friendship. You have to become friend to yourself. You have to be in good terms with yourself. Say you bring yourself down to Dharma, and like all our translators are translating the Dharma, and they love it because when they do Dharma, they are good to themselves. Nobody can do this for us. They can give you gold, they can give you a car, they can give you money, they can give you whatever, education, but they cannot give you the loving kindness, gentleness by yourself. They may teach you loving kindness, but still you have to practice loving kindness to yourself. Why? Because if you practice loving kindness, then you get rid of your ill will. You have the cognition, you can read your mind that your ill will is not on. It should not be allowed. And your meditation is so that you spot the danger of you doing ill will, and then it says stop. I said stop means stop. The ill will. Now when we think about this, your ill will towards yourself is related with someone else. Or you didn't do this with them or something, and then it's upset you and you are cross with yourself. These days, quite a lot of people do not really have so much big ill will towards others, but they really don't like themselves. They just can't stand themselves. So that's why there's huge rise of suicide. We have more people commit suicide in our society than by gun violence. That shows there's so much self-hatred, self-ill will. So when people learn to Buddhist meditation and teachings, slowly it tames their mind to become friend with themselves. Do metta bhavana, loving kindness meditation to yourself. Once you develop the loving kindness meditation, you're most likely to experience the truth of cessation. Truth of cessation means absence of ill will, absence of anger. And you don't do anger to anyone over anything. What is past is past. You just woken up from. Now, from here onwards, you won't do ill will. You won't do resentment to anyone. That's why you're doing loving kindness, because you can't do loving kindness, ill will together. These are just like the the arch rival. You can't enemy. You can't do one and you can't keep the other. If you do loving kindness, ill will must go. If you're doing ill will and resentment, your loving kindness is non-existent. So, therefore, the truth of cessation, meaning absence of or ceasing of your ill will. Now let's look at how traditional, once you understand loving kindness, if you have loving kindness to your only child, for instance, the loving kindness you have to your only child, because when the father and his loving kindness to his only child is measured, it seems like a most profound form of love father or mother feels towards her child. So someone asks, if you are able to feel this loving kindness that you as a parent can feel to your child, and can you possibly develop this loving kindness to all other sentient beings? And the questioner asked, he said, no, how could I? So he actually understood the meaning of loving kindness. Loving kindness is putting others before oneself for their happiness and causes happiness. So you will do anything to make them happy. So that's why usually when we say, may all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. So we will try to create we cannot be the cause, but we try to be a kind of a rudimentary cause of someone's happiness. Say you practice generosity, you speak very, very respectfully, you look with eyes, a nice gaze, and you speak to them very positively, respectfully, courteously. If you did that, the person feels loved or respected, and as a result of that, they become happy. So the cause of happiness is loving kindness between two people. If you and the other are mutually showing loving kindness to each other, there will be happiness between you and their relationship. But in our everyday life, when a man loves his wife or like that, that's like a finite love. It's actually more like an investment in attachment, really. It's not loving kindness. Loving kindness is pure medicine. It has no discrimination who the object is, why. You just make sure that others become gain happiness, and you will do whatever causes happiness. And it is to such person, randomly, basically. Nothing particularly choosing someone above the other. In actual loving kindness, your loving kindness is the metta bhavana is immeasurable one. You could not measure the loving kindness because the amount of happiness and wish to cause happiness to all sentient beings are so overwhelmingly powerful to you. If you give rise to loving kindness to all sentient beings, they are similar to a mother giving rise loving to a child, and when you can now multiply that to all sentient beings, it actually becomes higher than any higher meditative experiences because it totally lifts you, the spirit. Absence of the ill will or resentment towards any sentient beings, and even the great benefit of calm abiding, Mondo preliminary practice is so that your mind is totally absence of the thorn of ill will. Now the splinter that is lodged in your flesh of happiness is removed. Because of that, the true origin of suffering is ill will. That is now replaced by goodwill. Maitri bhavana. Maitri means loving kindness. Bhavana means concentration. So you're practicing concentration on loving kindness to a particular object. So that's why we need to now see how this precious gem like loving kindness can be now cherished. We need to cherish the cultivation of loving kindness. And so all of you who are listening to tonight here, watching tonight here, you must be yearn to learn the benefit of loving kindness and how to practice loving kindness. When your mind is very still and you really feel this love and tender and care towards someone, It takes away all ill will, resentment, bitterness, and so on that you previously may have hosted your emotion absent-mindedly. Now, because you're so present, you refuse to give time or way to practice ill will. So that's why you have to experience meditating on loving kindness. Loving kindness is that your heart is so spacious, so gentle, so loving. There isn't any hidden agenda, or there isn't any kind of a ill will towards anyone, and you wouldn't do ill will even in your dream, let alone in a wakeful period. But instead, you will do loving kindness. So the loving kindness that you generate towards the other completely gets rid of your sorrow, your worry, your fear, your anxiety. So that's the benefit. How the loving kindness and medicine is that when you give rise to loving kindness, your whole mental environment is changed into a brightly lit state of joy of loving kindness, and therefore there is no ill will, no fear, no anxiety, all of that. So loving kindness meditation can almost avert all the negativities from your mind, and you can experience the loving kindness meditation and that incredible wish and aspiration for beings to have happiness and a cause of happiness. So the loving kindness that you feel, for instance, firstly maybe you should try someone like your mother or the father or stepfather or whatever it is, someone who has been you're so indebted to their kindness, because every time you think of them, all little happinesses you have are a result of their kindness and their guidance and their generosity and their sacrifice you have. So that's why it is no good for us alone seek to find happiness and causes happiness when all sentient beings in the three realms of existence or in the world are and were your mothers. Help us think like that. When you're able to think that everyone is your mother, you don't want to harbor ill will to anyone, because there's no one who has not been your mother. So we are able to universalize the loving kindness. So this is the kind of immeasurable loving kindness in terms of object-wise. You don't have to choose with one or person. But you use maybe one person, and then from that you use the culture to spread to all sentient beings. It is said that there's no benefit for us alone getting liberated, because all the sentient beings in the three realms of existence were and are your mothers. It's just due to the change of life and a name, we usually do not remember or recognize that we have been their son, or she has been our mother. So therefore, to ignoring all other sentient beings' happiness and seeking happiness for oneself is a very shameful. And that's why one should now make a yearning and prayer and promise and supplication so that you give loving kindness. So next time you go to a shrine, like say in Bodhanath, you go to the stupa, you can see people, they say you whatever wish you make in front of such holy object, they come true. People make very, very mundane prayers in front of the stupas. Having traveled 1,000 miles, they make mundane. So they're, may I lose weight this year, or may I take up exercise this year, or people may my daughter pass her exam. People are making such prayers and such holy object, which is such a waste issue. So therefore, if you hear this teaching tonight, really to the core of your heart, next time you go to see a High Lama or meet somebody or a holy image like Bodhana, you should pray in front of that, may I give rise to loving kindness. Not to one or two, or not to few that we choose, we are very close to, we are bonded to, but those people who who we do not see any good in themselves for the time. May we develop, and so much so that we develop loving kindness to all sentient. So next time when you when you ask the High Lamas to meet, and also you can say, please bless me that I do not forget to practice loving kindness. Very important. Then your target, you are actually aiming to cultivate the very loving kindness that is the core of the Dharma teachings. Because the loving kindness, nature of loving kindness is that you're objectifyingly looking at the plight of each and every sentient being you know, and including those you don't know. They all have one common aspiration, that's to seek happiness and causes happiness. But they seek happiness, but they don't know the cause of happiness. Cause of happiness, they don't know it's humility, generosity, contentment, rejoice, forgiveness and lack of ill will, and these are real cause of happiness. But people they don't know the real cause of happiness, these things. They think the cause of happiness is possessions, wealth, status, friends, money. These are all necessary things in life, but they are not causes of happiness. They may trigger some pleasure for a while, but they will not give you happiness. The real happiness is absence of ill will and anger and enmity, and all these things are true loving kindness. True loving kindness does not necessarily mean you are promoting happiness of someone out there. You are actually making yourself happier, and because you're causing the happiness in you by your own deliberate choice in not letting the heart to post and host ill will. So, when you actually experience this, you will find happiness. You'll find a real happiness, not the happiness that is conditioned by things or objects, but happiness that is conditioned by the subjective, positive, wholesome emotion, wholesome thoughts. And you seem to have changed your mind, and you seem to have changed your views. Instead of wanting people to do this, that for you, you do not do this towards them and towards yourself. Then you find real happiness. You can almost burst yourself in laughter. How stubborn sentient beings are in doing the opposite. Therefore, one needs to do something that physically and emotionally, mentally, that you actually are more fitter to be happy and happier than anything you need to get physically at all. Some people think someone give you gifts and then you become so happy. And then you think the cause of your happiness is someone's generous. The real cause of happiness, oneself not being miserly or guilty or resentful. If you don't have do this, you will have real. When we say may all beings have happiness and cause of happiness, happiness itself is absence of ill will. Full stop. If you do not give ill will at all, not only today onwards or yesterday, but say some people have ill will from long way back. You just said enough. You have uprooted all of this. And then the more you uproot this, more you are able to practice. You arrange to practice loving kindness to all sentient beings is now not compromised, but encouraged. And so how do you know you are developing loving kindness? Is you no longer are doing ill will or resentment and to any of that. And then even when somebody has some ill will or something funny, you can see with the compassion, poor thing, I too used to be in that state of mind, always pointing finger to somebody. And now I know how not to do. So because of that, you have emotionally developed so much so that you now know what constitutes loving kindness. Once you know the constitution of loving kindness, now there are three types. Physically, you need to show loving kindness. You need to behaviorally do things, whether it's a respectful manner or generosity or gaze of eyes and how you acknowledge them and so on. You become very, very tender and loving and caring towards others, because whatever you do physically, if it's expressed loving kindness, you can. So you become physically very, very gentle and tame. Verbally also, you become very, very careful to say, not to say anything to upset them, to condescend them, to criticize them, to negative remarks about them. You do not do. Instead of developing negative remarks, you offer praise. Yeah? And so on. So you actually see yourself creating happiness by not doing the causes of unhappiness. So now when you see the fitness in you, that your own mental thoughts themselves become so cognizant that you actually are now can read the language of loving kindness or happiness. Because you are now able to promote and practice and output your cause of happiness behavior physically, body language, verbally, how you use the words, and emotionally how you completely behind these two. Then you actually will experience the effect of loving kindness to the extent of making you feel very light and very pure, like the Brahma. Brahma gods, in the immeasurable loving kindness is so much so they feel always light and spacious and correct, because they don't do ill will. So effective sign of you practice loving kindness is a reduction and elimination of any form of ill will and bitterness and blaming. Understand? So that's very, very important. So therefore, how do you now cultivate loving kindness? Yeah. So first of all, you practice loving kindness to say some people who are near and dear. And then, such as your mother, for instance. You practice loving kindness your mother. Naturally, you give rise to loving kindness mother. And why? You look at your mother, she is at least 20, 30, 40 years older than you. And she looks frail. She looks old. And she looks dependent. She maybe cannot see as much as she used to see. She also has losing her hearing. And so when you look at your eye in the eyes of your mother in the meditation, say you can visualize your mother in front and then look into her eyes. This is my mother. This is my mother. You should think like that. And then you can say, oh, this is my kind mother. You should think like that. This is my kind mother. And then try to visualize her looking in your eyes as well. That when you acknowledge this is my mother, this is so on, then you say you need to remember her kindness. Oh, from the very first day that she conceived you, how much physically she suffered, how much verbally she suffered, emotionally she suffered, many sleepless nights and tiring and very exhausting days. But yet she preferred to see you develop properly in the womb and then giving birth and give you the most softest cloth and wool or whatever it is, so that your delicate skin may not find too difficult. So therefore she has done so much to give us. So that's why it's very important to visualize your mother clearly from her gray hairs and wrinkled face, and maybe she has lost a couple of teeth as well, and you can see her skin's a very, very like a really scrunch up piece of paper. There's no smoothness in the scar. There's hardly any muscle there. It's just like a bag of skin attached to the upper arm or lower arm or the neck or to the face. So you can see that she's almost like a bag of bones and hardly any flesh there. So therefore you need to develop very strong urgency towards the mother who is yours and whose happiness is your cause of happiness. And not to do anything is really, really cause of one's misery. You can now see this very, very clearly. And so you therefore look into your eyes of your mother and her face, her emotions, and say that you then acknowledge to your mother, say, you are my mother, you are my old mother, you're my kind old mother, you're my kind old dependent mother. So they say this couple of lines for, may I make you happy and happy in the cause of happiness. May I promise, I will promise to make you happy and a cause, a fine cause of happiness. I will supplicate to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that you develop, you find happiness and cause of happiness. So with this in mind, you need to develop the rebonding to your mother as an example. It doesn't have to start with mother, so you can start with father or grandfather or stepmother or whatever, or best friend will do. So you should increase your empathy and connectedness to the object by doing this analytical meditation. And so if this very old mother towards whom you are feeling this very close bonding, if you remember or believe that she is unrecognized past lives mother, then you will take great liberty to pour down your wealth or your savings on her happiness, because you don't hesitate anything. So you have to do generous and do things that actually look like there is no ill will between us and them. Some people don't express any ill will, but they never actually acknowledge each other, or they never do things together. They try to avoid each other. This avoiding that people are doing is sign of aversion, which aversion means then, of course, you're brooding with some anger. So loving kindness is a very powerful meditation which can spot your ill will, your meanness, your childishness, and so you just try to help the mind to guard, not to fall into that trap. When you become very, very close to your old, frail, dependent mother, then you feel, if I don't repay her kindness to make her happy, to give her cause of happiness, I may be in a very good position, because she will totally trust and rely on me, and therefore I should do that. So you take a moral responsibility how to increase loving kindness and carefulness towards your mother. Once this feeling has been communicated to the mother, that you are my kind and old, frail and dependent and lonely mother, but I'll make sure that you are not left alone and neglected or forgotten, but I will always call you from my heart in prayer for you to have happiness, a cause of happiness, and so on. So when your mother has been notified by you, say, I do this every day for mom because I know you are so important in my life, but I'm doing this each day, it totally reconnects you with your mother like no other time before. So loving kindness meditation is very profound, very precious, more precious than offering material things to the Buddhas, as it was said. So if you're able to increase your loving kindness to your mother in this way, then one reason is if your mother has been giving your life. She has given you life. She has taught every good things you should do. She has dissuaded you from doing anything that are bad. So all the things we know that we are adopting good principles, if you are dropping that are negativity, this fitness and change that you have developed is also because your mother has taught, introduced to good schools, introduced to good mentors, and so on. That's how you are able to see. So therefore, you need to see not only kindness of her, but how much she taught us, and also how much she has faced hardships. Hardships. So, for instance, the kindness of giving you life. Look at your body. Your body may be 5'10" or 6'2" or whatever. Your whole this body, made out of molecules, is actually nurtured by her kindness, feeding you with her breast milk, and all this time. So therefore you need to develop amazingly strongly bonded towards your mother, for instance. When you develop gratitude towards your mother, then you do not have a space that is left there to keep the ill will going on. So therefore you need to see the kindness of giving your body, kindness of teaching everything what you know is good and what you should not do. And also she has taught us what to adopt, what to drop. and because of that, you are able to see very clearly your nose, your hand, your arms, your cheekbone, and your eye really look like your mother. There's no doubt about that. She has called you by sweet names. She has offered praises to you. She has touched her warmth of the body to your cold body. She allow you to drink all her energy through the breastfeeding. Whether you are approaching the danger of fire or water or abyss or any danger, she will do anything to rescue you, to save you from the danger. So because of that, and if you look at yourself right now, what you have in terms of money financially, what intellectual knowledge you have, what kind of social skill you have, all of these things you know and you're very good at it is because she supported you. She gave everything. She empowered you to do all things. So every single happiness that you finish your university, you're so happy. But how could you finish university without someone like the mother feeding you, packing your lunch, and then coming and collecting wherever you are at the school or playground, as reliably as ever? You can always see, she will leave everything what she was doing, but do this for ourselves. So we need to really learn to develop the appreciation and the recollection of all the kindness that we have been brought upon by our mother, and how much we are more present and more adequate today because of her. And also, when you see the mother's frailness and aging and how much she has lost weight, you can see, look, she sacrificed her well-being all those last 20 years to bring us one child, and one after another, one after another. All of this, she became basically tired and wearied and gray-haired and toothless because she put all her prime youth for our upbringing and our happiness. And she loaned money for us. She did everything so that we have some clothes to put on the back, and food in the mouth, and knowledge in the eyes, and she did everything which we have. So you need to develop this strong bonding to your mother. Now, this doesn't mean that you cannot do, if your loving kindness to your mother is already good. You improve the quality of loving kindness. How frequently you tell her that you love her, that you appreciate her. How often do you do? Maybe you haven't done enough of that. See, that's why you're miserable. Your sadness and loneliness comes because your mind is left vacant, not doing any useful, and instead hosting fear and anxiety and worry. But if you're developing loving kindness, recollecting her kindness, and how much hardship she faced, how much was taught by her, everything, even your home, you look in your bookshelf, you look at your clothing, wardrobes, quite a lot of things that are there are all gift of your mother. So we need to feel an incredible sense of the nearness to her. You need to develop intimate liking and respect to your mother. So that's why you need to be wanting to repay her kindness. Loving kindness is giving, You have to give the things that will make her happy and causes happiness. So with this in mind, you develop this strong bond. If you have developed loving kindness meditation to your mom, it will change you from how you respond to things that she says or she does or she doesn't. Nothing like before. This is unprecedented shift in you, that you are able to see the light in seeing the benefit of practicing loving kindness. And therefore, naturally, you realize you should stop. You should stop the ill will and resentment, which is the true origin of suffering. So you can see the loving kindness meditation is analytical meditation. You need to see who the object is, what they were in your life, what did you do, where were you when they did this, that. So you try to rekindle all the lost memories. We are very forgetful, Small good things, we just think excitement and pleasurable and enjoyment now, and then after that we disappear, we forget. So here it is enabling us to increase our nearness to our friends and ourselves, and so that they are taking great strides in order to allay our fear and anxiety as well. So because of that, we are mutually dependent on, if we are loving towards others, you wouldn't believe how quickly they too are loving to us. Okay? So if they don't have to do anything. It's just the power of your loving kindness enables you to automatically give rise to loving kindness, and then behaviorally, physically, verbally, and mentally, you are changing your view towards that person, because now you have become tamed disciple of the Buddha. You have promised not to do anything opposite to loving kindness, like harming or ill will. And the same goes with other things. So you become very, very competent. Your level of knowledge of what constitutes loving kindness, who you should really subjectively check with yourself. Once you are able to do that, then you may shift on specific people who are very close friend to you. It's only last 10 years you've been suffering. Before that, you don't even know who he is. But somehow you both have come to life that to recognize each other. So that shows that our capacity to extend loving kindness to not only to our people who are familiar and friendly towards us, but those who are exactly opposite to us. Because if we practice loving kindness, that we will have to practice patience. When we practice patience, that is actually enabling you to walk the teachings of the Bodhisattva. So that's why I try to practice loving kindness to the mother, and then to try to extend that to father or other people in your life. And even though you are a little crook towards each other over some miserable issue, you just came in, rise in this meditation. I will stop those kind of ill will and resentment at all costs and not do this. And so therefore, then you try to extend to other people like your father or the neighbor or the brother or the in-laws or whatever. Always your mind wishing them happiness and cause of happiness. Because you say ceremonially, may all living beings have happiness, but you just, when you're seeing sentient being, you try to wish just that. May this person have happiness, a cause of happiness, and like all sentient beings. When you're able to do that, then it will soften your own mentality, where there's no rough patches of the ill will or resentment towards anybody. You just almost not do it in your life. It's just like people are giving smoking, but what's the point of giving smoking but not hate, you know? People are giving up drinking, which they enjoy, but then they still giving up drinking, but they are still keep the ill will going. So what's the point of it? So in Buddhism, we always emphasize people giving up this, give up. That's a very great, but real thing to give up is wrong view and self-importance. And wait until you have enough merit and accumulation merit and the wisdom that actually jacks you up, that really boosts you, boulders you, so that you can actually to facilitate this understanding and this practice. And when you're promoting loving kindness, you are always happy. Your happiness level is, your satisfaction level will have great increase to increase the great faith and devotion in this recipe of practicing loving kindness. And then you have this fond memory to go and revisit your mother or father or someone, and to give them something or offer them something to express your gratitude. You never know when you will die. No, maybe fairly soon, but it's better that you show now than whatever. So that's why it's important to increase your loving kindness and supplicate to the Triple Gem that may you be able to practice loving kindness. Dedicate even smallest merit, like such listening to the teaching. You dedicate it so that you have a loving kindness, lovingly kind thought and prayer for practice to do. of course, you are able to see the veracity, to see the merit of doing this loving kindness. Then you can extend that to people who hate you and who really don't speak kindly to you or about you. You don't take it as an offense anymore. You develop loving kindness to the people who are like that. They're not born there by accident, And so that's why it's important to embrace them in your heart, such as enemy, unruly beings. You should see how much harm they do, and then you say to yourself, "Look, I'm grown up already, not to be affected by this. So I will not share the views, opinions of the deluded people like that." And so you actually have the very broad, very, very specific mentality that promotes loving kindness towards even people who are difficult to yourself. Due to the heaviness of karma, we don't recognize either as a male coming as a male again or whatever. We can't remember them, but what we can't remember them doesn't mean that didn't happen. So we actually have no doubt about the existence of past life and future lives, and whatever we do will snowball into the future. So that's why then you extend loving kindness to ordinary sentient beings. Even to ordinary sentient beings, usually we walk past and we don't show particular greetings. But now one should practice loving kindness to all strangers, all strangers. That's from my domain to have practiced loving kindness to you. I'm increasing my loving kindness. So you become profoundly grateful to everyone, not just to rivals, but even those people of varieties. You will increase, and so then when you have this sense of there is incredible feeling of loving kindness in your mind. And even you feel so elated by seeing the merit of doing loving kindness that it would not match a couple of hundred lamps. You can lead many lamps, but you still are in darkness of ill will. So even the butter lamp offerings are, no, people these days hold this butter lamp, everyone holding one. Like say there's 2,000 people, there's 2,000, and then chant something as if. Yeah, of course, people can follow many, many conventions like that. But main thing is how much your heart will not practice ill will, no matter what they do. But instead, you will practice forgiveness and so on. So when your mind becomes really very clear, how best to go about in practicing loving kindness. And when you practice loving kindness, you don't see the object as a cause of your anger, but you can see them as a karmic thing, that both they and us, we have not done sufficient merit to not be affected by that. Loving kindness meditation, you can see your mind is very clear, sharp, very, 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 very timely. So you can see the loving kindness person will never say harsh, divisive, negative words to the person, about the person at all. Because these days the loving kindness people have to take the full responsibility. So they're the reigning head of the lineage. So, you can practice, right now, mother or the head of the lineage or whoever. You actually see that if we were to unravel all the karma, we couldn't believe who is who in this and the previous life. And you become awed by the changes of your identity and life that has made you to develop very strong bond and connection to fellow sentient beings. And then when you do the meditation loving kindness, you've got to visualize the person or persons in front of you very clearly and try to look in the eyes in your mind and devoid of any hair or anything like that. But try to develop empathy. This is my mother. This is my kind mother. This is my kind, old, frail mother. This is my kind, whole, frail mother who no one can do anything. I'm the one who's recipient of all her kindness when I was young. So in this way, try to have a very, very positive meta-cognitive conversation to the extent of being able to communicate to oneself. So with this, we will take a break, everyone, 10-minute break. I'm sure our translators would require that. And so just think about loving kindness throughout this break and how important it is. Even the meditation, even the pilgrimage, even the giving dana, all of this is so that not just really to alleviate some people's hunger and thirst, because they could probably have things they will eat themselves. That you couldn't just pour down something what you don't need. So it will become very, very close. How much loving kindness is softening and broadening and embracing your heart become towards other people. And on top of what you already good, you may be relatively known how generous and respectful you are, but so you will notice this very, very clearly. So let's take 10 minutes break, and I'll see you shortly thereafter. Thank you very much. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you very much. Today our topic of teaching is how to practice loving kindness. And now during this second hour's teaching, I'll explain how loving kindness and one who possesses loving kindness affects other people, and how his or her behavior will change. And as a result of that, how the loving kindness becomes the core cause of a bodhisattva's activities. So if a person who has given rise to the immeasurable loving kindness, not only in the sense that loving kindness is directed to infinite sentient beings, but the purpose for which the loving kindness generated is for the sake of liberating sentient beings into ultimate happiness and causes happiness. Because of that, the objective of loving kindness is much greater, and therefore behavior of the practitioner of loving kindness is now, for instance, a person with loving kindness practice generosity. He gives what he has to others. He thinks giving to others is more beneficial than him keeping it. Why? Out of his goodwill, loving kindness, he preferred to see other people being benefited and made happy than himself try to keep it. Because by doing so, he not only practices generosity by practicing loving kindness to somebody, but that very thing that he previously, by keeping in his possession, was hardly producing any happiness in himself. But if he gave that very thing to some others, it is make the other people have happiness, and the cause of their happiness is your generosity. Not only that your generosity has become the other person become happy, but it also made yourself happier quite miraculously, unlike before. The very thing that was in your possession was not really making you feel happy, but instead you're worried. You're more anxious. You're more worried about the things. But now, by your selfless conduct of practicing loving kindness, because if someone who loves always gives, someone who loves lives and gives, they call it, because he's living every day. Why? He is living because he's giving. He's giving because he has loving kindness. He's giving because his giving causes the other person to have happiness that they did not have before. So your generosity is a direct cause of their happiness. And therefore, instead of praying, may all beings have happiness, you actually cause their happiness by giving what you have to the other. So that shows behaviorally loving kindness. Person who practices loving kindness stops himself not only from ill will but also miserliness. And then he, instead of practicing miserliness, practices generosity. His generosity has become a cause of happiness for the other as well as yourself. Whereas your miserliness is cause of your sorrow as well as cause of other person's sorrow. They say, oh, my brother is so miserly. He's got so much, but he doesn't give me anything. So they become disappointed. But one who practices loving kindness, he gives you because he loves you. He wants you to be happy. He can go without the thing, but his giving you makes him and you both happy. Because of that, he is very intelligent. Loving kindness is a very intelligent emotion. Why? The very thing that when you were keeping, whether it's some material objects or money or time or company or idea or whatever you give to somebody, they become happy. Like in the helping profession, like a counselor, in some regards, my role is like that too, as a teacher. We are much more able to make others happy by giving our time and energy for the benefit of others, providing that we are able to do so. For instance, when I know that our feeble effort of sharing the Dharma is and adds to cause of happiness to others, we become more happy as a result of doing that. Why? Because someone's asking makes us to be generous. We have to give. It's a bodhisattva vow that if somebody asks something, bodhisattva should not say no. They should at least try to fulfill their wishes in some particular way that you can easily do. Even if it is a little bit temporarily more inconvenient to you, that you don't mind. So that is loving kindness that changes your miserly behavior to generous behavior, miserable behavior to a happy behavior. Your generosity that by practicing of it made both you and others happy. So therefore it's better doing the loving kindness than praying may all beings have happiness, or cause of happiness. What's that? So sometimes, like His Holiness the Dalai Lama recommends people, don't do just prayers. Go and do something about it, So loving kindness is incredible doing, There is no better training, there's no better education, there's no better friendship, there's no better knowledge than practicing loving kindness. So, if you practice loving kindness, you will be automatically generous person. Your generosity can make, you are giving something to somebody has made them happy and made you happy because they are very acknowledging of your small gift. So that's why with practice of loving kindness, your generosity practice is encouraged and boosted and very, very fruitful. If you don't practice loving kindness, you don't practice generosity, so then you fruitlessly keep your miserable object in your safety or in your safe or in your car or somewhere you put. Neither it's a cause of your happiness, no. Instead, it is cause of worry, anxiety, suspicion, doubt. But practicing generosity out of loving kindness have averted your anxiety, sorrow, jealousy, doubt, anything. Instead, you unhesitatingly and wholeheartedly practice generosity. When you do that, the person who's generous is usually happy. Person who's really hugely happy is able to promote happiness in others as well. So that's why practicing loving kindness is direct cause of doing generosity, practice of generosity, and ripening other sentient beings. Likewise, practicing loving kindness meditation is the cause of your self-discipline. Some people realize that they should be doing this or that, but they don't have discipline. And so, but when you take up loving kindness, you have to have discipline. The disciplines are three kinds. Abstention from doing wrong things, yeah? And then doing what is wholesome for the benefit of others, and doing to ripen all sentient beings. These are the three types of discipline: abstention, wholesome practice, and to promote the benefit to others, happiness to others. So the causes of happiness of sentient beings is through your self-discipline. Whether it's a physical self-discipline, or whether it's a mental self-discipline, whether it's a verbal self-discipline, whether it's a pratimoksha self-discipline, whether it is a bodhisattva discipline, whether it is a vajrayana self-discipline. All these disciplines you should practice out of loving kindness for yourself and for others. So you deliberately try to abstain or giving up some bad habits, If you took up the giving up of the bad habits, say this Chuntu Dawa month, I should really make a vow to give up, say, smoking. And you do that with the loving kindness to your future, and then loving kindness to your daughter or the mother or the sister who are really worried about your drinking habit. And if they know that you have given up to and abstained from drinking anymore, out of your loving kindness for your mother, you improving your discipline. You no longer go out late night drinking somewhere with bad friends, nor are you wasting money. So they're so happy. They're happy because of your discipline. Your discipline, that bad discipline, bad habits you gave up, good habit you took up. And they're really happy that what you're doing. Why did you do that? You don't say to your mother or sister, I love you, but do things that make them unhappy. But you can say whether you can say I love you, mother, or not, but do something that makes them happy, such as observe a discipline, such as abstention from drinking or gambling or whatever it is that you can identify that she really doesn't like me if I did this. She really get upset but when I do this, she is really happy. And so therefore you took refuge in the Triple Gem, for instance. You made a vow not to be violent. You vowed to not to smoke or not to drink, And now you are actually observing the Pratimoksha or Triple Refuge vows. So all of you know that in the person who take up Buddha Dharma, they should promise to practice non-violence and non-violence and so on. And when you try to adopt the practice of non-violence, you do so out of loving kindness. And what is that? That constitutes discipline, self-discipline of abstention from doing wrong things, whether it's physically, like say example of taking alcohol. You physically wouldn't drink. You verbally wouldn't use harsh words or divisive words or negative words or condescending words. You become so thoughtful how to abstain from that. So that's the first kind of discipline. Second kind of discipline is that you do practice this loving kindness in order to ripen others, in order to make yourself practice generosity, patience, and those things. Because then it makes you to not only observe the precepts, but also not only the observe precepts of non-harmful, but also you have to practice harmfulness, harmless, sorry, helpfulness. Because now it's very good to you don't do any harm in comparison to doing harm. It's even better in comparison to doing good. Mere harmlessness is not good enough. So because of that, your discipline is now moving from abstention to promotion. You're promoting that. And third kind of self-discipline is to ripen other sentient beings. You are doing this not to please yourself or earn a higher rebirth, but you do this, dedicate this for the sake of all sentient beings who are your mothers, who are your fathers. You have not previously acknowledged that and not quite being patient. So from here onwards, we have made an executive decision to drop those bad habits and take up good habits. Why? Out of loving kindness. You don't say, I love you, and then send a little heart to all sentient beings, But instead, you practice loving kindness, small loving kindness to anyone, and then they will see that positive effect of that ripple effect will spread them. So this is how loving kindness empowers you practice self-discipline. The third paramita practice is patience, Practicing patience is not an easy virtue. Buddha said, Zupatavukatume, there's no great hardships or penance than practicing patience, So a bodhisattva who practices patience has to be out of loving kindness motivation. It's not a question of who's right and who's wrong in kind of modern kind of legal effort. It's not showing who's right and who's wrong, but who can forbear the hardships now in order to promote the well-being of both sentient beings. So that kind of strategy of practicing loving kindness, and then you are patient to your mother or the sister or the friend, and you do not see your patience is not an independent virtue. It is a dependent, when sentient beings are upset, that we should be able to prevent them becoming upset, become violent, or so on. So therefore you have to practice patience. A patient person, negotiator, could actually mediate conflicts. They can prevent the conflict from getting worse to bad, bad to worse. And so because she is so careful to be patient with someone in order to then give your sister or someone a breathing space. So even practice of patience is a conduct of one with loving kindness. And then fourth one is practicing of diligence. So people who practice loving kindness are very diligent, They are so diligent time-wise. They don't want to waste another day in delaying the practicing, taking up loving kindness formally. And whether that marking could be like you might wear a hat, or you might get a new name or something like that to symbolize the taking up the vow. And so you can do that. If you are observing discipline, if you are observing patience, if you are observing diligence, it's because of our loving kindness. Because Buddha's teaching fundamentally transform our behavior. Mental behavior, attitudinal behavior, for verbal behavior, what you don't say. And most important, mental behavior, what kind of thoughts you would not allow your heart and mind to be polluted by. So this kind of fundamental shift of a patient person is no longer impatient. When he is not impatient, then his son, his daughter-in-law, his mother, and whoever looks at it, they become delighted. It is very contagious to talk good things, and even better when to see things. The seeing is believing. They got it. The liberation is much more than that kind of thing. So it's very important to practice patience. Likewise, the Fourth one is practicing of diligence. Diligence definition says is a joy and joyous effort to do things. So whatever you have to do, if the person have loving kindness for the person or the cause of the issue, then they will start doing loving kindness, because loving kindness is like an insurance policy, and it almost prevents you from becoming very, very low if you practice loving kindness. Even the patience that you did would not have come out very easily if it wasn't the power of loving kindness that increases the urgency for sentient beings that want happiness, but they don't get it nearer. They don't want suffering, but they seem to be getting that much quicker than themselves. And so, therefore, loving kindness is and practice naturally encapsulates how to practice discipline, generosity, discipline, yeah, and then the other organization who also promote happiness. You can see other people doing good deeds. You, instead of being jealous, you feel rejoice that. You have the amazing joy to see the generous mentality of the devotees and what they are willing and able to do for the sake of others. The person who has loving kindness is diligence. Person who is diligent is very fast, moves very quickly, and his ability to benefit others is very speedy, very quick. There's no delay. There's no chance of procrastinating and delaying to other time slots. You have to do what you have to do for the benefit of others without further delay. Like in Australia, they say when you call the kind of paramedics, they should get there within 8 minutes. They say if they arrive within 8 minutes, that's good. They fulfill that. If they are arriving later than that, then that tells another story. So that punctuality, that timeliness, the discipline of being so joyous effort to get up early or stay a bit late and do those things for the benefit of others is due to loving kindness. Due to loving kindness, in Mahayana, Chinese Mahayana, Japanese, Vietnamese Mahayana, they always say Namo Amitofu when they see each other. They actually are greeting the Amitabha in you. And so that's why we showed reverence to statues, if they were not the embodiment of loving kindness. Because they are embodiment of loving kindness, Buddha's hand gesture when he was teaching, Buddha's hand gesture when he was walking, all of these are behavior of a tamed practitioner of high caliber. And if you see someone with loving kindness, there's an incredible effect of that touches you. There's a lot of people when they meet His Holiness Dalai Lama, for instance, they feel so happy, they feel emotional, as some sorrow and unhappiness have dropped away by seeing him. Why? Because His Holiness is a senior practitioner. If not bodhisattva, he's a recognized as emanation. And so the very name of himself almost excites and implants and instill faith and devotion in the mind of others. You too, as an individual, if you practice loving kindness more often, you're much more patient at your home to him, even though he said the same thing, you didn't react to it, you have allowed a time. And so you will see how flexible your mind is. Likewise, when you practice loving kindness, you will do your meditation. You do not want to miss this opportunity to develop the wisdom. But to do that, you must be able to practice these things with the right kind of attitude. So you can see the relationship between your behavior of a diligence and how much you are punctual. You say we'll do in 3 days' time, you actually try to finish them before 3 days. And so therefore, when one of the person does something, it inspires other people. It instills faith in themselves. And he's a show of doing small act, but was a very great initiator of the virtues of others. So in this way, that one needs to identify the effect of loving kindness, and loving kindness is also a deliberate cause of realizing a meditation and a wisdom. It's out of loving kindness. That's why when before each meditation we say, may all beings have happiness, cause of happiness. Sometimes we are taught you have to do this 100,000 times to develop loving kindness. So loving kindness is an incredible subject and object of meditation because it is the highest meditation. Even you recite Om Mani Padme Hum, you turn the Dharma wheel, but if you have not heard teaching how to practice loving kindness combined with the appearance of the various visualizations, so that's why it's important to use your meditation and visualization prayer, not just do them for the sake of saying, no, I did my reading today, I did my sadhana, but try to boost your loving kindness, the infinite loving kindness and compassion, because when you practice loving kindness, compassion, you're benefiting yourself and others and the center and all the other activities. So loving kindness enables you to give for good causes. Loving kindness enables you to be patient and diligent and concentrated, and because of that, the loving kindness is most important. That's why His Holiness Dalai Lama says, "My religion is kindness," and then, of course, religion, or meaning your motto, your philosophy is non-violence. And so when you don't do violence, you already are considering practicing peace. I mean, if you and others made peace instead of resorting to physical conflict and verbal conflict, then it plants the seed of joy and happiness in everyone. So that's why physically and architecturally, when you do the loving kindness, being represented by the four immeasurables, and loving kindness represent earth, and so on and so forth. And because if your loving kindness is like the soil, like the earth, like the very firm foundation of every good you can do. So loving kindness is the cream of karma body meditation and special insight. One can deliberately go on a retreat, do the preliminary practices, or you can do accumulatively. So whichever way you do, you always say at the beginning, may all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. What is the cause of happiness? Not material things, not possession, not status, not being in the high caste race. When you practice loving kindness, it is the timeless Dharma. It will suit all sentient beings, because we are doing it not only the bags, only we then empty them up and we recite and so on. Everything you do has incredible added meaning and benefit when you practice loving kindness. Likewise, loving kindness meditation will greatly boost your quality of meditation, because in meditation you have to sit still. That's a discipline. And abstain from doing this and that. So that is also practice of giving to other sentient beings. So in this way, the practice of loving kindness is the fundamental and core cause of people taking up the vows to help sentient beings, to harm no sentient beings, to promote their happiness. What if there is no water in one house when everybody in the neighbor on the back, on the front, and others all got water, but one neighbor doesn't? So now he needs water. If water supply is restored in his home or garden, then it will be happy, And so therefore, people can take up particular conduct in that actually with correspond to the bodhisattva's way of life, putting others before. And so with this in mind, you need to dedicate your merits, your good deeds, and out of loving kindness, may all beings have happiness, cause of happiness. So it's a prayer. And may all beings have happiness, cause of happiness. All Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, please take notice of this. This is actually making them to promise, and then and so on. So when you are able to practice loving kindness in this way, then it also harmonizes your earth element, because we are composite of air, earth, water, and so on. So therefore, practicing this will greatly improve your circulation. Loving kindness will circulate your blood, because blood is the fluid, and a lot of people's blood and circulation is very high, and blood is not very liquefied. It has become almost a semi-solid and then become plaque. So the one who lacks a loving kindness is completely exposed to heart attack. But ones who take up the loving kindness, you will straight away notice that the person who's developed a loving kindness, his complexion, his fitness, his health, everything, his social behavior, everything is very, very inclusive. And so for him to talk about loving kindness is the highest form of empowerment. So that's why I chose to talk on loving kindness tonight, because in this month of miracles, we look at the Buddha and his infinite wisdom and compassion and enlightened activity. In that, we will see his Dharma activity, the teaching of Dharma, studying of Dharma, receiving guidance, and going up. All of this is so that we develop this in genuine devotion to the Buddha. And then to all sentient beings, because when you have devotion to Buddha, then you will see what constitutes practicing the four immeasurables, of which immeasurable loving kindness is. Loving kindness is the core of Theravada teaching as well as Mahayana. In Vajrayana, of course, loving kindness meditation appears as a bodhisattva, like Avalokiteshvara, who's wearing the tiger skin and antelope skin as a upper sash, upper kind of vest, and then his hand gestures holding lotus, and all of these are rich kind of multi-layer meaning of one. I would say material that you actually say where you got it from, what it is for. So you can actually go and promote happiness to others. That you say this loving kindness meditation. Tibetans travel to India, thousands of miles on foot. And they took gold, they took mask, they took various other ingredients unique to Tibetan production. They went to India in order to bring Indians to bring the Dharma to Tibet, so that they can learn to practice loving kindness, so that they try to avoid causing any injury and harm to other living beings' life, because that's the core teachings of the Buddha. So with this, I would like to conclude here. Giving me your valuable time, and I would like to thank Sakya Friends for persistently holding these teachings. Being able to have all of you in attendance has sort of given me the opportunity to specifically talk about the importance of loving kindness meditation. So before we stop, just pause a few minutes and try to make a small little promise to practice loving kindness to solve every single problem. That you always pause and close your eyes, so that you will definitely make a small effort. Even it's a very small, but you try to make that every day. And you promise to make peace with someone or something or some issue, and don't make yourself suffer. So, like say, we are building the Peace Temple in Australia, and only 2 days ago we filled the whole Lion Throne with all this, and we are trying to promote peace in the world. This being the the kind of national capital of Australia, Canberra, they have a war memorial, you see. War memorial is so large, and when you go there, there's only a list of the dead soldiers from all countries. Everybody go there, look very sad, but we want a temple where people can go and take up making peace with themselves and with the others. And so that we will create a national register of peace, where people will register making peace with themselves. How? Why? Loving kindness. Through loving kindness, they can make peace with themselves. And then when they make peace with themselves, they wouldn't argue with others about that issue in the same way as they deludedly did. They no longer wanted to do ill will. They had enough ill will, and it doesn't do any good. They have a lot of stress, and they got high blood pressure, and all their weakness and so on. They got reason for that. So they realize they have to behaviorally and change to say, I drop this, and I will take up this instead. I'll do this for the benefit of all sentient beings. So this is why this stupa, we are building, of course, is mainly honorable reliquary of His Eminence Kyabje Chogye Teje Rinpoche's relics, as well as many other relics. In putting this together with our center that we're building, is going to make a very impressive benefit to other people. And so we have actually a website or Facebook called Sakya Temple of Peace, and lots of places have. This is Sakya Temple of Peace is going to be more like a place where people actually go and make peace. Take up peace, give up violence, and they have to go through a small ritual which I'll compile, and they read that, and they will sign a memorandum understanding between them and their past or someone else. Maybe they couldn't quite talk to each other, look in eyes and say and forgive each other, but they definitely wish to do that now. They don't want to do any ill will. It's just ridiculous. That's the true origin of suffering. Why do origin of sufferings when you want happiness? When we consciously acknowledging which is the difference between the wishing and doing, even in the Bodhicitta they say doing is better than the wishing. So it's good to have the wish to dedicate the world peace and reconciliation, and not the aggressive ones, not the kind of undecent ones, because they have a big say, do not necessarily achieve a great result. Of course, we won't allow them. So that's why I'm going to conclude here tonight to share you about our center's big project to build a temple in the nation's capital. The government don't give land grant lightly to anybody, but to fulfill the criteria, you have to do. So we've been fortunate to fulfill the criteria, and the current governments help our people to do this. And so that's all, everyone. Thank you very much for giving me and Sakya Friends the opportunity to take each and every one of your attention at this very sort of late hour in Australia, maybe some places very early hours. Some people might happen to be free during the day. In every one of your effort is much appreciated. With loving kindness, may you be well and wise and compassionate to yourself and others. And after all, if there are any problems, you should always resolve by practicing loving kindness, okay? You should just remember loving kindness. You can remember some key words. If you don't recite the 6-syllable mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, but you can just say Om Vajrasattva Hum. So slowly you can learn to do the practices. So with this, I have to take leave. Last few days we've been very, very busy. You wouldn't believe. how much that big lion throne of the stupa contained. You wouldn't believe how many our Sangha members been working so hard, and I'm just as much as try to be doing something. So anyway, it's really nice I can talk just loving kindness for to tonight in front of you, and we should do this kind of teaching more often, so that people like you get to really know the scope of these teachings is to eliminate the opposite of the four immeasurables and cultivate the four immeasurable and bring a good result, very, very powerful and effective result to all sentient beings. So they are always doing things that will make others happy, give themselves, and all those opportunity. With this in mind, we'll conclude here. Thank you very much. Please do the dedication in your mind, and as I will do the same. Thank you very much.